Alright, so, this, I think, was a pretty good trend. I really liked that background I made for the Autobot bass intro there. I had the several buildings and it looked like a base complex. It was better than just the random colored bricks that were that made up the Autobot base from the previous movies. And then that little part of Mudflap and Skids I thought of like 2 years prior to this, and I thought it was perfect for them, so I kept it in the back of my mind and used it for this, because I mean, that's something that they would argue about, whose name goes first when someone's talking to them, right? Yeah. It sounds like something twins would argue about, and actually I think Jacob and Aaron argued about that once, so yeah. That's probably where I got that from. But so this is if I remember, the Autobots that went with Lumpy and the other clones to stop that hostage crisis were Bumblebee, Sideswipe, Mirage, and Sunstreaker. So this was like your one and only line of Sunstreaker here.
Yeah, and he got killed off for the second time.
Yes, for the second time.
In so many movies.
So he's not going to become like Steve. I'll promise you that. He's definitely dead this time. Even though in the script though there was extra dialogue talking about Megatron had more Allspark fragments and he let on so we can revive him again. It just seems kind of cruel and he'll turn into another Steve. But
yeah.
Gotta love Brian Tyler's score for Transformers Prime here. The Shockwave theme. Yeah. Even though the track itself is called Dreadwing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of odd, but and the Dark of the Moon Shockwave figure I hunted for forever until I finally found him, so I could use him for T vs LSW3. But it's funny because I went to like 3 different Walmarts and 2 Targets all around the United States, because when I first started hunting for him, I looked at him. That it was at a Target in Orlando, Florida, and I finally found him at the Muskogee Kmart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shockwave's figures and real figures. He's had a succession of really good figures.
Yeah, he has. And it's funny because Kmart actually saved my rear end several times. I found Sideswipe there. I found Sideswipe there and a couple other figures, so I mean it's only fit out of the 6 times I've gone looking for figures there. It saved me 4 out of 6 times. So
because nobody else goes there.
Yeah, it's like that. You guys remember that play we put on? I think it was 2006 or 2007 at church, and it was like the news show, and then it had the scrolling captions at the bottom, other news.
Oh yeah.
And it said, explosion at Kmart, but no one was hurt because no one goes there, or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. Oh, I don't really. I remember you saying it just now, but I don't remember it.
Oh, you do?
Play.
Yeah. Well. So here is the jerk of the movie, Agent Johnson, who. He's based off of the Director Galloway character from Revenge of the Fallen, but his name is a combination of Agent Fowler's and just the random Johnson name. I seem to like the names that start with J and end with Son. I don't know why, but I just do. He was kind of fun to write because I hated him as I wrote it, and that's kind of the way I wanted it to be. And then here's Breakaways, one of his few lines, and you can't understand any of them because I should have just had you record it without the vocoder. It would have been a lot easier to understand.
I remember saying something to that effect. You kind of ignored me.
Yeah, I did. Sorry. Yeah, I should have heeded your advice.
But not completely crazy,
Yeah, not completely, just partly.
87%.
Yeah, but this set, this Autobot base set, with the whole platform and stuff, this is probably one of my favorites out of the entire movie, because it was high up, and built to the height of the Optimus Prime Voyager figure, and because of course it's inspired from that from the platforms that they had in Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon.
Yeah.
So people can actually look Optimus Prime in the eye, and he's not looking down at you, which, he's not actually looking down at you, he's literally looking down at you because he's a two-story robot.
Yeah.
But, and if I had a nickel for every time this movie tells you where something is, I'd probably have like $10. Because, almost every scene tells you where something is, and I think halfway through the movie I finally started slowing down with that, but that's the one thing I don't like about this, is that I did that. And then one thing I didn't notice until this film was almost complete is that Lugnut and Blitzwing, they're featured pretty heavily in the first 20 minutes of the film. Then all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. You don't see them for the rest of the film. I hate it when movies do that, and I hate myself for doing that. Because at the end of Revenge of the Fallen, we're like, well, hold on, where'd Wheelie go? And then he shows up at the beginning of Dark of the Moon. We're like, oh, okay, so he survived, because we didn't see him again. There's like a whole 45 minutes left of the movie, and he just vanished. And Barricade did the same thing in the first Transformers movie, and then he didn't come back till Dark of the Moon. So.
Vanished. He was gone.
So. So it's kind of funny that I inadvertently did that. So, I kind of had two different names for the Allspark Harvester. I called it the Allspark Harvester and the Allspark Gatherer. I called it those two things, and I inadvertently did that. I didn't really mean to, but it just, it's a heart, because I think the real name for it is really the Allspark Gatherer, because it gathers the remaining shards.
Yeah.
And the Harvester aspect of it, that comes from, of course, the Star Harvester.
Yeah.
Which was another thing that in this movie. So I kind of inadvertently did that, and it creates a bit of confusion for me anyway. Did you guys ever get confused? Did you even notice that?
No, I'd actually noticed it.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
I think I noticed it now that you said it, yeah.
But this part right here, with Optimus talking, the lamp I used, I thought it turned out really great because the light shone through Optimus's light piping, and it looked really good.
And it kind of made his eyes kind of
so his eyes are actually lit up, and it's not just the dark that they had been. So, for those of you that are wondering what all the wrestling and stuff is, Assorted Nerds Productions and Voodoo Inc. are both fiddling with Lego sets, so that's what the noises may be.
This is pretty cool.
Voodoo Inc.'s holding the Republic Striker Starfighter set from the Old Republic, which Lumpy uses in this film, so, I kind of figured that because about halfway through the movie you see Lumpy with the Old Republic Trooper armor in his little office area. In the script I think I just called that a little, operations room, but it kind of turned into his office. Would Lumpy have an office, or would he have a workshop? You're probably the authority to say that on that.
Both.
Yeah, so he would have both. So he's got a workshop and an office. In the same room, right. So what we saw was the office portion of it, and what we couldn't see was the workshop part of it. So there we go. We'll call it that.
Had to censor the weapons of mass destruction.
Yes, yes. Curse you, NPAA. But I kind of thought that, let's make Lumpy a history buff. It'd be an interesting aspect. All three of us like history, I think. So So put the old Republic trooper armor in there, and then have him fly a replica of a Republic starfighter from from the old wars and stuff. And I thought it'd be an interesting kind of concept to have.
Yep.
This part was really the first action sequence of the film. We had Lumpy and the clones going after the Black Sun hitmen, but really this was the first, Transformers versus Transformers action sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could have turned out a little better. Like Ironhide here, he just kind of sat there and did nothing, which I kind of make the joke of here, is that they run forward with swords, and then, it's right here. Ironhide doesn't really know what to do, so he just kind of drops his cannons and sits back and starts to relax.
Mm-hmm.
Which it didn't turn out that great because of the legs. Because it was supposed to look like he was going to sit. He was sitting down and crossing his legs, but it didn't turn out that great. But this part, though, I'm proud of, because Rumble jumps out of Soundwave's chest and then he creates the big hole in the ground. I thought that turned out really good. And then that dude just don't play fair line, I thought was funny. That got a couple laughs when I showed this to my family. And then
Blackout.
And the Grindor, actually, and then Grindor spinning around, I thought turned out pretty good, even though there were a couple blurry pictures in between there. But it went by so fast you couldn't really notice it. And then so all in all, I think that first fight sequence could have been a little better, but for the first fight sequence, I don't think it was too bad. I just think it could have been a little bit better, but oh well. So but so here.
Happen.
Yes, soon something will happen. It's the cliche villain talking to himself while he's thinking of his arch enemy. So, yes, creepy laugh. I think a lot. The only problem I had with these scenes that are in the Autobot base is that when I filmed most of these, I did not have the brick tripod at the time, so there's a lot of movement between shots, and it doesn't really look that great. Like this, it's cutting off part of Commander Guy. It should have been higher, and I was really I was just holding the camera. It wasn't steady against everything, so that's why it was kind of shaky in some of those parts, which kind of annoys me a bit. But it's not too bad, I suppose.
Yeah.
But and then nerd alert, which I can't remember what was in the script, but I think it was just Lumpy coughing and saying nerd, but then you changed it into nerd alert, kind of referencing Transformers Prime, which I thought was better. So it's funny, I talk about Transformers Prime, then you start off with the Star Wars theme.
It's Transformers versus Star Wars.
Yeah, Lego Star Wars.
It works.
Yeah, so it does, you're right. And then this is the big villain reveal, half an hour into the movie, which is kind of, shouldn't the villain usually... I suppose we kind of already met the villain, sort of, but, it's... Anyway. But I think this sequence with Unicron and Star Blaster turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
With the white background, it's not in the afterlife, but not
hallucination.
Yeah, not hallucinate. It kind of in limbo. In limbo, that's what I called it.
And then he's got the whole white outline.
And Unicron kind of looks like a ghost. So I thought it turned out pretty good. How I did that is that in Paint.net. I took these shots with them. I filmed them just against the normal backdrop of the wall, and I think I filmed it on the desks before. I think this was still before I had the filming tables, and I filmed it. And then what I did is that I took the shots with them, and then I made 3 different pictures out of it. I made one where I made a pencil sketch with it using it, like it's like edit tools, make effects, pencil sketch, and then so I made a pencil sketch which became Unicron, kind of ghostly Unicron. I did another where I made everything white, and then I copied and pasted Unicron and Star Blaster into the white picture. So I used like 3 different things and all. Pictures, not things. That's for this, and then the music titled "The Fallen," kind of the creepy vibe to it adds, and then I switch over to the Unicron medley from the 1986 Transformers movie. Dun 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 dun. Adds a good, familiar feel to it, yet while still saying, "Uh-oh, bad stuff is happening." And then I thought how, showing how the Fallen gets his body turned out really good.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a pretty good villain reveal. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then the glowing red eyes.